That's when I realized that it had all been a joke. I was called Kyra not because of my ferocious skills, but because I was a lousy player. The following summer, I decided to do something about it. Mr. Fury had a nephew named Shambani, who was always bragging about being a real Singanga who possessed Mangalamera. Gilbert and I suspected he was full of hot air, but we were never sure. Shabani was small like me, yet he boasted like a man 3 times my size. This made us wonder. Shabani didn't go to school, but he worked all day in the fields with his uncle, so he was usually there when I returned home in the afternoons complaining about bullies or sitting on the bench. One day, after hearing another one of my pathetic stories, he pulled me aside. "Every day you're moaning about these boys, and I'm tired of hearing it," he said. "I can give you Mangalamera. You can become the strongest guy in school. All of the bullies will fear you." Of course, having superpowers was a lifelong dream on the soccer field. I could fly like a leopard with legs like rocket launchers. Pow! Reacting to my Mangalamera, bullies at school would wet their trousers with fright. My father had always warned me about playing with the magic, but now, with Shabani standing there, smiling like a mongoose, I couldn't resist. "Okay," I blurted. "I'll take it." "We'll do it in the Blue Gum Forest," he said. "Meet me there in 1 hour, and bring 20 tambala." A tambala was like a penny in our Malawian money. An hour later I arrived in the forest and waited in the shadows for Shabani, my heart beating fast. Shabani then appeared through the trees, carrying a black bag that contained something heavy. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Yeah, I'm down." "Yeah, I'm ready." "Then sit down." We took a seat on the soft red dirt, and he opened his bag of wonders. From inside he pulled out a tiny matchbox. In here are the blackened bones of lions and leopards, along with other roots and herbs. He fished out another package, filled with strange dust, which he mixed with the ashes. These other materials are extremely rare, found only on the bottom of the ocean. "So how did you get them?" I asked. "Look, boy," he snapped. "I'm not some ordinary person. I got them from the bottom of the ocean. I stayed down there for 3 whole days. If I wanted to, I could turn every person in your stupid village into an ant. So don't play with me, Bamboo. If you want this kind of power, it will cost you lots of money. What I am giving you is only a small taste." I didn't even see him pull out his magic razor. Before I knew it, he grabbed my hand and cut into my knuckles. "Ah!" I screamed. "But be still and don't cry," he said. "If you cry, it won't work." "I'm not crying." My knuckles brightened with blood. For each one, Shambani pinched a little powder and rubbed it into the cuts. The medicine stung like 100 bees. Once he finished both hands, I exhaled with relief. "See, I didn't cry," I said, panting. I'd been holding my breath. "Do you think it will work?" "Oh, yeah, it will work." When I asked, "When will I have my power?" He thought for a few seconds and said, "Give it 3 days to work its way through your veins. Once it's complete, you'll feel it." 3 days. Yeah. And whatever you do, don't eat okra, and stay away from sweet potato leaves. "I'll remember. And lastly," he added, "tell no one." I walked out of the forest rubbing my mangled knuckles. Although they hurt like mad, I had to admit they looked pretty tough. That evening I hid in my room and spoke to no one. 3 days was a long time to wait, but it worked with my plan. It was the beginning of the summer holiday, and the following morning I left to visit my grandparents, who lived a few hours away in the town of Dawa. It was the perfect place to receive my powers before coming home a hero. Well, 3 days crept by so slowly, I thought I would die from boredom. Worse, my grandmother kept putting me to work, cleaning the yard and chicken pens and scrubbing her kitchen floor, which left my arms tired and rubbery. Oh, I wondered, when will I become strong? But on the 4th day I woke up and instantly felt different. My arms were heavy as if laden with stones. I flexed my muscles and they felt as firm as tree trunks. My hands squeezed into fists were as solid as 2 bricks. Heading outside, I took off running down the dirt road to test my speed. Sure enough, I felt the wind in my face like never before. That afternoon, my Uncle Mata invited me to watch a soccer game at the town field. Perfect, I thought. Here I can test my powers. Like always, the place was packed with people, but I had no interest in the game. Instead, I scanned the crowd looking for the biggest boy. When I found him, around my age, standing on the far corner of the field, I walked over and stomped on his bare foot. He let out a cry. "Excuse me," he said, hopping up and down. "You just stepped on my toes." I stared at him, saying nothing. I said you stepped on my toes and it hurt." "So what?" I said. "Well, it's rude, don't you think?" "Then why don't you do something about it?" He looked confused. "What do you mean?" "You heard me. Do something, Cape." A Cape is a drilling idiot. "Well, in that case," he said, "I'm going to beat you." And that's what I was hoping you would say. We began dancing around in circles, and I wasted no time. I unleashed a flurry of punches that were so fast and terrifying that my arms blurred before my eyes. I gave him lefts and rights, and a few uppercuts for good measure. My iron fists moved so furiously that I didn't even feel them smashing his face. After a while, though, I began to feel sorry for the guy, so I backed away and took a breath. But to my surprise, the boy was still standing. Worse, he was laughing at me. Before I could unleash another deadly round, I felt a terrible pain in my eye, then another, and another. Soon I was lying on the ground while his fists pounded my back and stomach. By the time my uncle raced over and rescued me, I was crying, covered with dust. "What are you doing, William?" he shouted. "You know better than to fight. That boy is twice your size." I was so embarrassed that I ran back to my grandparents' house and didn't come outside for the rest of the weekend. Once I got home, I found Shabani and confronted him. "Your magic doesn't work. You promised me power, but I was beaten in Dawa." "Of course it works," he said, and then thought for a second. "Listen, did you take a bath the day I gave it to you?" "Well, yes." "Well, that's why. My medicine doesn't allow you to bathe." "You never said that." "Of course I did. But, as you can see, I clearly was cheated. My first and only experience with magic left me with sore hands, a throbbing eye, and a healthy dose of skepticism. Gradually, the witches and wizards didn't seem as frightening or powerful, and I began to look at the world in a different way. I saw it as one explained by fact and reason, rather than mystery and hocus pocus. But in this world, there still existed the same set of sorrows.